Welcome to Tokyo Wave, recorded in a live studio in Harajuku, Japan, with your hosts Aaron and Parker. Alright everyone, welcome to episode 99 of Tokyo Wave. We're your hosts Aaron Randall
and Parker Allen. On Tokyo Wave, we bring you weekly updates from our studio in Harajuku.
Join us in segments featuring this week's top news,
political happenings,
business,
and other random garbage.
To get us started, here are this week's top news highlights.
Japan to accept small-scale tourists from 4 countries as it opens up.
Water intake leak threatens supplies to central Japan areas home to Toyota and other firms.
Japan opposition party executive tells crowd that female candidate would win based on looks.
This week in Japan. Alright, so our first story. Japan to accept small-scale tours from 4 countries as it opens up.
Kyodo News has reported that Japan will accept small-scale tours for vaccinated tourists from the United States, Australia, Thailand, and Singapore as a trial later this month toward the full-scale reception of foreign visitors planned for June.
Japan has closed its borders to foreign tourists since the early stage of the coronavirus pandemic in 2020, but it has been relaxing its travel restrictions in phases since March, accepting business people, technical interns, and students as the COVID-19 situation has improved.
During the trial phase, small groups would go on fixed package tours limited to areas where prefectural governments have agreed to accept them so that their activities can be managed.
Only visitors who have had 3 COVID-19 shots will be able to participate, according to the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism.
The trial will allow the government to see if it can grasp people's movements and learn how to respond if a COVID-19 case is detected in the event of a full border reopening.
The Tourism Ministry will compile guidelines on infection control measures for travel agencies and lodging facilities.
Currently, 10,000 people a day are allowed to enter Japan, but the government is considering doubling the cap to 20,000 in June.
Tourism Minister Tetsuo Saito said at a press conference, "International travel is extremely important for economic activities and regional revitalization."
Amid COVID-19 travel restrictions, the number of foreign tourists to Japan in 2021 dropped 99.2% from the pre-pandemic year of 2019 to a record low 245,000 people.
So, a lot of people are complaining, even with the recent news, right? Because I think there was a French article too that leaked that the Japanese government was going to finally do regular tourists without tour groups in December or maybe even next year. But, it's good to remember that, as we mentioned, there already is kind of a rollout for business people, technical interns, students. So, it's not all doom and gloom.
I'm just kind of interested. Who are these people signing up for these pilot tours? Like, they have to be the people who want to come to Japan so bad that they're willing to put up with a tour? Who wants to go on a tour?
I mean, maybe first-time visitors, but we can both imagine that there's going to be a lot of bullshit with I think people are going to probably use the tours to get into the country. But they're saying that they're going to monitor the hotels they're going to stay at, right? So only certain hotels can hold these tourists, etc.
Sign up for the opportunity to come to Japan, where we will monitor your every last movement from start to finish.
Basically.
Yeah, that's all she wrote.
Yeah, it's like the guinea pigs, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to sign up for one of those tours. Probably not.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
And up next, water intake leak threatens supplies to central Japan areas home to Toyota and other firms.
The Mainichi has reported that a major leak has occurred at the Meiji Water Headworks, a water intake facility in the Aichi prefecture city of Toyota, which could leave 131 business locations, including car manufacturing facilities, without supplies of industrial water.
The Bureau is trying to pinpoint the cause and is instructing related businesses to try and conserve as much industrial water as possible. It is not known when the problem will be resolved.
As a result of the leak, Osaka Gas suspended operations of its Nagoya power plant in the Aichi prefecture town of Taketoyo at 1 p.m. on May 18th, and said it planned to suspend its number 2 plant in the same town at 9 p.m. It is unclear when operations of the plants will resume, according to the utility.
The Aichi prefectural government said that around 6 p.m. on May 17th, water intake from the Yahagi River stopped. The headworks sends water to the Anjo River treatment plant in the Aichi prefecture city of Anjo, but as a result of the leak, the plant could no longer secure enough water. The plant supplies industrial water to 131 business locations in 9 cities and 3 towns. These include many automobile-related businesses, including Toyota Motor.
According to the prefectural government, the water treatment plant was no longer able to receive water from the headworks from around 4:45 a.m. on May 18th. It was expected that the supply of industrial water would stop about 4 hours after that, but it appeared that efforts to conserve water proved effective, as the supply had not ceased as of 11:30 a.m. However, the supply of agricultural water in parts of 8 municipalities, including the cities of Toyota and Okazaki, has been cut off since May 18th. Ordinary households have not been affected.
Officials say the water treatment plant is not designed to receive industrial water from other plants. Restoration work is continuing at the intake facility, with 25 pumps being used temporarily to draw water.
Earthquake reinforcement work has been underway at the water intake facility since 2015, but it is not clear if this is related to the leak. According to the Aichi prefectural government, the average daily water supply from the Anjo water treatment plant in April reached about 143,000 cubic meters.
That's a lot of water.
Sure is.
Yeah, this is kind of scary news because obviously if Toyota and all of its suppliers can't get this industrial water, their lines have to stop. I mean, I don't think people talk about this a lot, but water is used in a lot of manufacturing processes.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of the machines operate based on some kind of water. They need water to clean something, or they need water to do this, to do that. They use a lot of water.
Like every laptop, I think, takes 300 gallons of water to make, and people don't think about that a lot,
Wow. To make one PET bottle, it takes more than the content of the PET bottle to make it. It's like 2.2 times.
So we're not sustainable.
It's not sustainable at all. It's all a lie.
You got all these companies like talking about sustainability. I mean, that's been the biggest thing, for the past 10 years. That is insane. The PET bottle example, I just shaking my head at that.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people don't understand this whole industrial water thing, but they will understand when and if this thing actually causes disruptions in supply chains.
Yeah. You don't notice it until you're trying to get that gaming laptop with that RTX 3070, and they just don't have it due to supply shortages,
I just imagine the CEO of Toyota, Akio Toyota, going on TV saying, so people who have pre-ordered the new Land Cruiser, that 2-year waiting list, that's just turned into a 20-year waiting list. So enjoy those new SUVs in 2 decades.
And there's so many variables, affecting these supply shortages globally for so many things. And it is kind of centralized around chips, right?
Now we've got water, though.
Yeah, that's not great. It is industrial water, so we could probably come up with some nice what is it called when they turn the salt water into regular water?
Yeah, it's actually really expensive though.
So that's also not sustainable.
Yeah.
Well, we could turn the salt water into regular water, but actually it takes about the same amount of regular water to turn the salt water into regular water. As a matter of fact, it's about 2 times the amount.
And in doing so, we're going to kill the local baby seal population.
And goats, too. We don't know why, but whenever we do this, just all the goats die.
And up next, Japan opposition party executive tells crowd that female candidate would win based on her looks.
The Mainichi has also reported that Akira Ishii, chief of the election strategy office for new candidates of the Japan Innovation Party, delivered a gaffe-laden address in Nikko, Tochigi Prefecture on May 15th, suggesting the party's likely local candidate for the Summer House of Councilors election would win because she was the prettiest, and calling Russia and China, quote, crazy.
What a dude. So Ishii, a 65-year-old upper house member, made the comments in a speech to open the office of the projected Nippon Ishin candidate for the Tochigi constituency. He told attendees, quote, 5 of these likely candidates are women, right? Just talking about age, our candidate is young. But if people vote based on looks, she would win hands down.
Speaking about the Russian invasion of Ukraine and its impact on Japanese security, he stated that, quote,
in addition to crazy Russia, we've got nearly crazy China. Asked for comment on May 16th, Ishii's office told the Mainichi Shimbun, quote, there's no one here who is aware of the situation.
Nippon Ishin Secretary General Fumitake Fujita told a press conference on the same day that Ishii had been issued a stern warning and that, quote, he should choose appropriate language when it comes to gender and lookism. Fujita quoted Ishii as saying in his defense, I did not mean to discriminate based on appearance.
5 women and 1 man are set to contest the Tochigi constituency, where 1 seat will be up for grabs.
Ishii has served previously as a city councilor in Toride Ibaraki Prefecture and a House of Representatives member. He was elected to the upper house in 2016 from the proportional representation pool and is seeking re-election this summer.
That's unfortunate because of proportional representation, that means that no matter what he says, if Nippon Ishin gets enough votes, he has to keep his seat.
Jeez.
What a country.
Yeah. Obviously, you say anything like this, in America, your career is over,
Unless you're Bill Clinton. He can get away with murder.
I heard you guys got an issue with North Korea. I'll be on the flight out tomorrow to deal with it. Don't worry, I know Kim real well.
I know what he likes.
They did that, right? Like when he wasn't even president, they sent him out there to negotiate.
Just send him out there, send Bill.
All right, Trump, where do you need me to go next? Just got back from North Korea. Iran, you got it. I'll be on the flight tomorrow.
It's so funny that it has to be true. All right, and up next on Tokyo Panic Room, we're going to talk about Japan okaying a plan to release Fukushima nuclear plant wastewater.
You're now listening to Tokyo Wave.
The Associated Press recently reported that Japan's nuclear regulator approved plans by the operator of the wrecked Fukushima nuclear plant to release its treated radioactive wastewater into the sea next year, saying the outlined methods are safe and risks to the environment minimal.
The plan was submitted by the Tokyo Electric Power Company Holdings in December based on the government's decision last year to release the wastewater as a necessary step for the ongoing plant cleanup and decommission.
A massive earthquake and tsunami in 2011 destroyed the Fukushima plant's cooling systems, causing the meltdown of 3 reactors and the release of large amounts of radiation. Water that has been used to cool the 3 damaged reactor cores, which remain highly radioactive, has since leaked but was collected and stored in tanks.
There is still concern in the community and neighboring countries about the potential health hazards of the release of the wastewater, which includes tritium, a byproduct of nuclear production, and a possible carcinogen at high levels.
The government and TEPCO say more than 60 isotopes selected for treatment can be lowered to meet safety standards, except for tritium, but that it was safe if diluted. Scientists say impact of long-term low-dose exposure to the environment and humans are unknown, and that tritium can have a bigger impact on humans when consumed in fish than in water.
Japan Nuclear Authority Chairman Toyoshi Fuketa said that the plan is made conservatively so the radiation impact on the environment could still be below the legal limit in case of any thinkable risks.
Under the plan, TEPCO will transport water that has been treated to below releasable levels through a pipeline from the tanks to a coastal facility.
From there, the water will enter an undersea tunnel to be discharged at a point about 1 kilometer or 0.6 miles from the plant to ensure safety and minimize the impact on local fishing and the environment, according to TEPCO.
The plan will become official after a 30-day public review, a formality that is not expected to overturn the approval.
So the green light came just as the International Atomic Energy Agency's director, Mariano Grossi, arrived in Japan for meetings with top officials to discuss the plan, which has received international attention. I wonder why.
Fuketa met with Grossi on May 19th, after the IAEA director's visit to the Fukushima plant on May 18th and meetings with other Japanese officials.
The government and TEPCO plan to gradually release the treated water in spring of 2023.
The contaminated water is being stored in about 1,000 tanks at the damaged plant, which officials say must be removed so the facilities can be built for its decommissioning. The tanks are expected to reach their capacity of 1.37 million tons next year, slower than an earlier estimate of later this year.
Aaron, have you ever seen the tanks?
I've seen pictures. They're kind of just like on the coast, right?
There's a lot of tanks.
Oh, wow. Yeah. We're looking.
So I'm showing Aaron a picture of the tanks right now. There are a lot of tanks.
Yeah. Google Maps, you can.
And they're just surrounding the plant. They're just everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like everywhere they could put a tank, they put a tank.
Yeah.
And they're about to be full of contaminated water with tritium and other bad shit. 60 isotopes. Japan has sought the IAEA's assistance to ensure the water release meets international safety standards and to reassure local fishing and other communities as well as neighboring countries that have sharply criticized the plan. So basically, use them as a scapegoat.
A team of experts from the IAEA, IEA visited the plant in February and March for meetings with Japanese government and TEPCO officials. The task force, in a report issued late April, said Japan is making significant progress on the plan and taking appropriate steps toward the planned discharge.
Was that before or after they got that invitation to that fancy nightclub in Ginza? Yeah, so it's going to happen. We've been talking about it for years now, and it looks like it is in the final stages of actually happening. They're going to release that contaminated water into the ocean, and what's going to happen?
Yikes.
I mean, what's going to happen could mean nothing.
Yeah.
But it also could mean something. So it's actually funny because Matt and I talked to a scientist, I think last year, who is doing sciencey things at a nuclear safety research lab in rural Japan. And he was having trouble getting back into the country because of the border restrictions.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, I remember thinking, you won't let the safety guy back in? For real? Like, is that like not just like a joke? Let the safety guy back in. We could use a few of those safety guys.
For sure. Yeah, this has been a very divisive issue for a while now. Photographs and what we just looked at, Google Maps, you can see the buildup of the contaminated water is nuts. Man, why they can't just like bury it deep underground or something?
But then ants would eat it.
Yeah, it would probably like contaminate the soil and cause more issues. We need a scientist for this one.
Yeah, I really feel out of my league on this particular topic. But what I can say is just the PR around this has been so bad. I mean, obviously the International Atomic Energy Agency is the global watchdog. So having them come to Japan is great, but I didn't see this on TV. I'm reading about it here for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, it just feels like it's being swept under the rug. So,
sure.
Even if this plan is totally legit, it's a good idea. And I mean, honestly, it doesn't sound like we have too many other options. The communication surrounding it have been lackluster, to use conservative language.
Yeah.
To use more familiar language to listeners of Tokyo Wave, the communication has been absolute shit garbage bullshit. They got to do a better job because, I mean, they're going to start releasing this stuff into the ocean and people are going to be going crazy, especially the kind of people who love to complain on Twitter. And mark my words, when this actually happens, the media is going to be all over it. Japan's going to be painted as doing this bad thing, that there should have been some other way, and people are going to be talking about the poor fishes and the people who are going to eat the fishes and grow 3 eyes. And that's the problem, is that it's probably not going to be that bad, but we don't know what's going to happen. So without more communication, more information, people are going to jump to conclusions. And when it involves nuclear power, history has dictated that people don't tend to jump to good conclusions about nuclear waste.
Yeah,
which is what this is.
It's a perfect mix for a total scare, Because in Japan, everything has some kind of fish component to it when you're eating it. Everything has fish in it, seafood.
I mean, you can just imagine the people on those podcasts who are very popular among the tinfoil hat set. Japan is releasing contaminated water into the goddamn ocean, and America's gonna implode from the inside, and it's all because of those goddamn Joe Bidens.
Well, this is something that I'm sure a lot of people on the West Coast are worried about. In the U.S., I'm sure South Korea, Taiwan are not happy about it. Any neighboring countries, because the oceans, the way they work, everything spreads everywhere, right? And there's a huge...
That is how an ocean works.
Yeah. So
we've done the research.
Yeah. So this will not just be a Japan problem.
It will be an ocean problem.
Oh yeah.
What's going to happen next? I mean, obviously, it looks like the government is going to go through with this thing. We can only hope they can do a better job communicating it because, I mean, this whole shebang happened in 2011. The whole tanks, that's been happening over the past several years. There hasn't been a whole lot of communication on it. It just really feels like it's been attempted to keep it on the down low. And given the public's, of course, very high tendency to jump to conclusions whenever the word nuclear is mentioned, I understand the government's hesitation to be more proactive in communicating this, but as we get closer to the D-Day launch of this water into the ocean, and I'm pretty sure the international media is going to have some very tough questions for the Japanese government, and will they be able to answer those questions? Will they be able to assure the global community that some real bad shit ain't about to happen?
This is the worst timing ever, too, because, they're just about right around this time. What is it? Spring 2023? That's when they'll finally probably be open to all foreigners coming back in with tourist visas, right? And if they have this looming, they're dumping nuclear waste into the water, everything's infected kind of PR going on.
Not a very good post-COVID tourism strategy. Enjoy Japan, except for the beach. The beach is closed.
And the fish and everything everything comes from fish. So don't eat anything in Japan.
I hear you foreigners like sushi. We're very sorry, but this year all the sushi decided to go on vacation, They really needed to stretch their legs in sushi land, so sorry, but we got really good steak. You guys like steak. I hear you foreigners, really like steak. How about some beef?
Maybe we'll see an uptick in the price of Kobe beef next year.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, with issues like this, you always have to expect the craziest thing possible to happen, and that could be one result.
Hey, listeners, that's right. You listener right there.
Who do you think should be our next guest on Tokyo Wave? Let us know. Drop us a line at wave@tokyowave.jp.
We hope you enjoyed Tokyo Wave.
If you haven't already, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube.
Join us again next week on Tokyo Wave
For episode 100!